What's up, gamers? Coobs here. Welcome to the video, and thank you so much for being here. I hope things are going well for you. I want to begin today with an open letter to FromSoftware. The current state of invasions feels like it's at an all-time low, when it should be soaring higher than ever before. We've been waiting for simple changes that would drastically improve the quality of life for invaders, yet we continue to have hope for a day when our grievances are answered. The Taunter's Tongue should not be an abusable item. There's no reason why hosts are allowed to disable the Taunter's Tongue while players are invading their world. This feels unfair to invaders. It provides zero downside to the host and delivers zero incentives to all players involved. Co-invasions are consistently one of the most exciting and dynamic encounters for all parties, especially when considering that they only occur for those who opt into them. There's no reason that a solo host should be aided by not just one but two hunters when the solo host has opted into the invasion mechanic by using the Taunter's Tongue, especially when the invader is not rewarded with a fellow co-invader after dispatching one or both of the hunters. You've recently implemented the ability for players to customize which locations they want to be summoned to by selectively deactivating summoning pools. Yet this feature doesn't extend to invasions, and alternatively, we've dealt with bugged spawns inside of rocks, giant trees, and random pots. The odds are constantly stacked against the invaders, yet we are the ones who remain persistent and overcome, embodying the very essence and spirit of the games that you've passionately created for the last 15 years. We are grateful for the work that has been done already, the addition of PvP-specific balance changes, and the ability to invade at any and all locations we've visited. We know you are capable of greatness. It has been consistently proven time and time again with each new iteration you have released. We continue to hold on to hope that our love and appreciation for this game will be regarded as a matter of importance to you and the development team. We are your core audience. We are those who return to Lordran, return to Drang Lake, return to Lothric, and return to Yharnam. We are the Black Phantoms, the Grave Lords, the Bellkeepers, and Mound Makers, the Bloody Fingers, the Watchdogs, the Vile Bloods, and Forest Hunters. We support your projects, we hype your new releases, we speculate over your ever-cryptic marketing, and we celebrate your achievements. And we want to stand proud knowing that you hear our voices and support us. Thank you for your time and consideration. There's a link in the description to send your feedback to the development team before we inevitably face our last adjustments to Elden Ring. If you'd like your voice to be heard, then join us in asking for positive changes to the invasion mechanic. Now let's talk about some invasions. We got a patch this week, patch 1.13, and for the most part I think that it's a pretty good patch. There are some questionable changes, but on the whole I think that it's good for the health of the game. I think that the Thorn spell, I'm not sure exactly what its name is, but you know, the one with the giant thorns, I think that that was a real problem for PvP, and it seems like that's gotten a fair adjustment. And I know that they made some changes to the Ashes of War for the backhand blades, which I also think is a welcome change. I'm not entirely sure how I feel yet about the changes to the poise break points for some of the lighter weapons, but we did get some changes to the light greatsword. The light greatsword is actually a weapon that I had been practicing around with prior to the patch. I had all these invasion clips using the light greatsword, and so naturally when the patch occurred, I took all of those clips and I threw them in the trash. And because nobody really wants to watch, clips of a weapon before it's been adjusted, before the patch has occurred. So it just made sense to just kind of clean it out a bit and go out knowing that I wanted to get new gameplay footage using this weapon. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've mentioned this before, but I'm a fan of low-level invasions. I think that that's actually what I prefer. And specifically when it comes to testing out new weapons that I'm not used to using, I find that it gives a little bit more room for error, and you don't get punished for your mistakes as much. And so that's really great when it comes to trying to learn something new. But overall, I find this to be a really versatile weapon. I think that the moveset is both really diverse in the flourishes. Like, some are sweeping, left to right, some are stabs. And I think that that's kind of nice. There's also this really nice combo when you do a heavy attack followed by a light attack. You could even follow it up with 2 light attacks. And the way that it's fluid in its combo is just really kind of nice. And I'm sure that that's true for most weapons. Maybe it's just kind of the flourishing nature of the weapon that makes it feel a little bit more cohesive as a combo. But regardless, I think that it's a great weapon. It's certainly one that if you're looking for something new to try out, I would definitely recommend, especially in PvP, because there's a lot of strengths to this weapon. Now, of course, there's some drawbacks. If you're getting surrounded by 3 people, it's probably not going to be as effective at dealing with all of those opponents at one time. However, I will mention that the Ash of War, the wing stance, which has been pretty much what I've defaulted to using, I think that it's both really fun, but there's also a nice bit of skill to it. I've seen some players who have kind of figured out that if somebody's going to do a jump attack against you, that if you do the heavy attack of the wing stance, you can kind of almost like counter their jump attack, which I think is really kind of fun. Like, I enjoy having counterplay to what my opponent is doing. That's why I'm a fan of Carry and Retaliation, because I can use it to kind of, reverse the onslaught of projectiles that are happening towards me, and I can use that against my opponents, which is really great. And I think that the light greatsword has a lot of components to it that can kind of let you punish your enemy, particularly now that there's been this change to the poise damage that it does. I find myself landing several hits in it, like in succession, when maybe before I'm not sure if I would have been able to do so. I found like I can kind of trade into attacks, especially when they haven't, like, if they're in the startup animation of their attack. And I've noticed it specifically with with greatswords in general, just the standard greatsword class. If somebody's one-handing a greatsword and they go to attack you, if you hit them in that startup animation, you're most likely going to knock them out of that attack, which is really interesting, because typically if you're considering like trading into an attack, you're kind of figuring that you're going to get hit, but you're hoping that the trade-off is worth it, if that makes sense. But I found that a lot of times I'm just trading right in, and I'm stopping them from getting their attack off in the first place, which has been really interesting. So a lot of versatility to the weapon. The wing stance also, I think it's this clip here, we'll see. A big thing that you want to have on your build is something to take on 3 enemies all at once. And here, I spawn in, and so I've got the invincibility frames for a good maybe 5 seconds or so there, and we're able to use that to our absolute advantage. Yeah, sure, you could say like, oh, Koobs, you just spammed the same move, multiple times, and absolutely, That's absolutely true. That is an accurate observation of what just happened. And so if you're not a fan of, spamming the same move multiple times, then I completely understand that. But as a tool to get the 3 enemies off of you, create some space, and give yourself a little bit of breathing room, I think that it works fantastically well. I think that most of the new weapon types are a lot of fun to use, but I feel like we were kind of lacking in options when it comes to these new weapons, if that makes sense. Like I think there's 3 light greatswords that they added. So we have Milady, we have the needle greatsword that we can get from Letta, and then you have the one from R'Lana, which is 2 light greatswords. So that really, in itself, kind of changes the way that you might use the weapon, because you might notice in a lot of these clips I'm two-handing the light greatsword, and I find that that's actually what I like the best, personally. The one-handed moveset is kind of nice, so there's definitely strengths to both, but I find myself gravitating to, see, here's what I was talking about, the light greatsword. I'm just piecing this guy up. He can't even get his attacks out. But yeah, so I'm gravitating to the two-handed version of using the light greatsword, and so in that sense, it's like, well, if I can't two-hand the twin moon light greatsword, whatever it's called, R'Lana's weapon, if I can't, two-hand a single blade, then it really changes up the weapon and its versatility entirely. And that weapon also has you have intelligence and faith requirements for it, so it's also kind of difficult to build around in that sense, because one of the things I was actually hoping for was that we would get a little bit more to utilize that specific build of intelligence and faith. And now I know there's a new staff that allows you to cast both spells and incantations with one catalyst, and I think that that's awesome. I think that there's probably some cool builds that can be put together and cool spell combinations that can be used with that specific weapon. And there's also the putrescent spells, which I think, if I'm recalling correctly, require both intelligence and faith. But there's not like a wide arsenal of weapons for you to choose from. You kind of have a few options, and I think it would have also been nice, maybe this is just, too much wishful thinking, but I think it would have been cool to have an infusion that could take advantage of scaling in both of those attributes, because that would also open up the possibilities for that build potential, so that you could say, like, now I can use any standard weapons that I can meet the requirements for. I can put whatever Ash of War I want on them, and I can take advantage of the fact that I've kind of built my character around having both faith and intelligence. And I think that would have been kind of nice and added like another level to build variety. But, wishful thinking, of course. You might have noticed that I'm carrying a hand ballista as a soft swap, meaning that I don't have to go into my inventory to equip the hand ballista when I want to use it. And so it's like one of those things. It's like there's really no reason to do that, but I have the equip load for it because of the outfit that I'm wearing. Like I'm one of the invaders that prioritizes fashion over function. If I'm gonna lose the invasion, rarely is it gonna come down to me not having the best armor possible, especially when I'm at low level invasions anyways, and you just don't really have the endurance to have a full banished knight set or a full bull gold set or whatever it's gonna be. And so I go for a look rather than trying to maximize my stats. And so I had the extra weight capacity with this build. I was like, let's just put the hand ballista there, and it's actually been working out kind of nice. I don't have to deal with going into my menu and equipping it all the time. But hey, that's been the video. I've been Koobs. I really appreciate you. Again, if you're interested in having your voice heard by the development team, then consider clicking the link in the description, which will take you to their support page where you can kind of let them know your thoughts. But thanks again for being here. I have been, always will be Koobs. Peace and love to you, gamers.